Back in the day, in the wild, wild west, there were two outlaws, Slunk Meat Mac and Mad Dog Mike, running the Buddy Shotz gang. These two outlaw podcasters committed the most heinous use of the word dog ever seen. This is one such tale.
Mad Dog McCree vibe.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I killed them like dogs. He died badly. He died like a dog.
But before that, he was cowering like a dog.
Yeah. Welcome to the human race.
Exactly. At high noon, 12 p.m. Or 12
A showdown. Or is it a bro down?
Blow me down, mini. That picture.
He's like, ah.
I think they took like more promo shots than they actually
Spent
filmed
on
on
the
that show. Reminded me of when we did like the Ghost Show years ago, and we have all these pictures of us posing, and it was just like,
It's
what
like,
the fuck are we gonna do with this?
you
But
spent more time on the special features
Yeah.
than the movie.
let's do a commentary. It's like, dude, no one's seen this bullshit. So this is High Noon Week or Western Week
Western Week.
or Legend Week.
Legend.
Both legendary films.
Clint Week.
Clint Week. Clint Week. Like, whoa. So, yeah, episode 97. I'm in heaven.
There you go.
Episode 98.
Still not great.
Yeah. Episode 99. That'll be fine. I don't even know what to say about 100.
100.
Episode 100. I'm in hell!
Shut her down.
Yeah. I think episode 99 will be our Christmas special.
There you go.
The way I've planned it out, so. Anyway, so, I guess.
Should we get into Legend? He's using gadgets and gizmos to tame the Wild West. One
Like,
crazy adventure at a time.
I like how you read that off. Of the complete series DVD that I'm shocked actually got a...
Yeah.
Even though I'm pretty sure that the quality of the video is still like 180i. It's like, the fuck is that? So, people are probably wondering what the fuck we're even talking about. Because there's many things that are called Legend. There's like the Tom Cruise movie from back in the day. There's like...
I typed in Legend into IMDb and it was like 50th on
Yeah.
the list.
There's I Am Legend. There's a bunch of other stuff, but this was a show that came out on UPN, so you already know that we're in great territory in the 90s. But it starred Richard Dean Anderson, so like MacGyver, and from Stargate, and then John Delancey, which I think most people know him from Legend, so
Yeah.
from Star Trek. All the different iterations for the most part is Q.
Yep. Love Q.
I think he's played Q in every single version of Star Trek except for I don't think he's ever shown up in Discovery as far as I know, but
Not, I hadn't seen
not
it
what
when I
I've
stopped
watched.
watching
Yeah, so
out of hate.
but he didn't
let's
show
not
up
get
in
into Star
Picard.
Yeah. He's also in Breaking Bad. He's a memorable
As Q.
character in Breaking Bad.
He shows up as Q and everything. He essentially plays
He should've.
Q and everything, honestly, because in this show he plays... Actually, he shows up in Stargate as well with Richard Dean
really?
Anderson. Yeah, I just remembered that.
Tag team
He kind
back
of plays
again.
an asshole.
Big surprise.
Yeah.
He's really good at playing that kind of
Yeah.
character. Though.
Maybe he's just an asshole IRL.
Yeah.
If we ever see him at a convention, I'll be like, here's $50. Are you an asshole? Then he'll be like... Or I could just pay $40 to what's his face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this show, like, I really liked watching it.
Yeah. I didn't realize until like I booted it up that like this first episode is essentially like what they call a mini movie. It's not a mini movie. It's a full length fucking feature film for the first episode, which
That's my biggest complaint, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of shows do that, and I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, this, like...
They expect you to sit down.
There's not enough story to...
Yeah, to be a full
last
length.
90
Yeah,
minutes. I
it
bet
should have
you.
just been like whatever they had for their regular runtime.
I bet you the rest of the episodes work a lot better.
Yeah, that's what I was
one,
thinking.
Because it was just too long and like there was so much filler.
Yeah.
But it gave me big time Mad Dog McCree vibes.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I loved that game so much back in the day.
Sidewinder. It's like, shit.
It's like, you're telling me this video game has full motion video? Whoa!
It's like AVGN style.
Yeah.
Where he's like, full motion video. How about full fucking screen? It's like, oh. But yeah, it's like, okay, so this show is like, it does all the tropes of like these kinds of shows where it's like there's an inventor that's like essentially John Delancey plays like a character that's like he makes all these ridiculous inventions that are way ahead of their time, and he predicts stuff that'll happen years ahead, like with no plausible like reason for his predictions. But he's like, I predict that there'll be a road that people can drive down and, buy, cigars and beer and stuff. And I'm like,
this showing
this guy's
is
like Judge Doom over here. It's like, but that actually had like a reason for it. But yeah, exactly like that. It's like, but literally he does that like a lot. But he's the guy that's like Q from James Bond. Q playing Q.
Q played Q.
He's like, but he has like a lot of. He's kind of like a Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that they wanted to call this guy Nikola Tesla because he also has like a beef with Thomas Edison in this, kind of like Nikola Tesla. But I'm sure they couldn't get away with using his estate name, so they called him, I don't remember what his name is, but it's essentially Q.
Yeah.
And Richard Dean Anderson plays the same kind of character he played in Stargate, where he's like a quick-witted,
I liked his character.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good.
Yeah, that's how he is in Stargate, which is...
Because he's not like Captain Kick-Ass. He
right.
kind of like is bumbling through life.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Gets by the skin of his teeth.
Who the fuck designed that poster? It was like so bad. But like, yeah, I like the show. I just think that like if the first episode had been the 40, like however minutes,
Yep.
like I almost kind of want to watch another episode just to see, how it plays out, because like you said, like this first episode, like they set everything up because Richard Dean Anderson plays. Essentially, they do the thing they did in Shanghai, like Noon or Nights, where like Owen Wilson, like he is writing these novels as like a character, but he's not real. Mm-hmm. But it's like in this, the guy's like essentially an author that turns into like a hero.
Yep.
So it's kind of like the same thing that like we talked about with Bruce Campbell, where he like becomes like a legend or whatever. But
speaking of Bruce Campbell, this show is very similar to Briscoe County Jr.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Yeah, there's a lot of like, it's like very much like Wild Wild West, where there's like all these like things ahead of their time in the West, which I like that idea, like sci-fi.
They're riding a velocipede.
Yeah. The main character is like, he drinks and smokes and stuff, but like the character he writes is the opposite of him. So whenever he has to finally like pick up the mantle of what's his name, like Nicodemus Legend, I think, he can't drink and can't smoke and all this stuff. So he's like,
damn it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good Richard Dean Anderson reactions.
Yeah, he's great in this.
I've always, I mean, it's funny because, like, I've seen episodes of MacGyver, and honestly, like, even though that's what made him, like, a household name, I think his acting in that is, like, worse than anything he did after.
Really?
Because, like, he's so young that it's, like, he hasn't gotten down he's so serious, too, in that show, and then, like, in this and in Stargate, he's, like, I mean, he's so different than Kurt Russell's character in Stargate, where he's gonna commit suicide, essentially, and, like, because his son died. And in this show, he's like this character where he's like you know, they'll meet like an alien and he'll be like all snarky and shit to him. So it's like, it's just, it's fun.
He brings a lot to the
watch.
character, kind of reminded me of like a Jeffrey Combs performance.
Yeah,
like
it's
he's
like
always doing something interesting.
right. It's like, I was gonna say like this is an interesting performance, but if like he wasn't in this show, I probably would be like, dude, don't ever watch this show. It's fucking horrible.
Unless you want 90s UPN vibes.
Right. But it's like, I guess it would depend on who they cast as the main guy, but like, yeah, he's essentially the reason to watch this show. I mean, it's a bonus to have John Delancey in it, but like he doesn't even show up in the first episode until like maybe halfway through or 20 minutes in. I can't remember, but like.
Yeah, I was also happy to see Tim Thomerson show up.
Yeah.
Remember him, the dad from Near Dark?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's next? Tom Timerson? But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch for sure. I'd never heard of this before.
Yeah, I think I can't remember how I found out about it, honestly. I think I was going through like maybe his like back catalog or something, because eventually I want to like talk about Stargate and stuff like as an actual episode, but like it was I was like, the fuck is this? It's got him and John Delancey in it. But yeah, it was good. Did you notice that like when they're in like the car or whatever,
The Velocipede?
yeah, he says engage, like the car.
I did not
Hugh
notice that.
says that.
That's pretty good.
And it was like,
He's like, gotcha.
yeah. And then like Richard Dean Anderson at one point is like, he's like, they're reading off these charges in the beginning when he's getting shaved because he's like all drunk as fuck or hungover. And he's like, an account of disturbing livestock. And he's like, what? I am not, nor will I ever be a man who disturbs livestock. And I was like,
That's funny.
but the way it's like his reactions, it's like that's essentially what you get when you cast Richard Dean Anderson. He just acts this way, and it's good.
I've never really watched him before because I've never watched MacGyver. Like, I can't say I've
or
seen
like
an episode.
Stargate or whatever. Yeah, he's he's essentially the same character in Stargate, and MacGyver he's a lot more like straight laced. Like he'll maybe make a joke, but he's more so like the action
Cool
hero.
dude.
Yeah, because he's saving the day without killing anybody. He doesn't like guns, so he's like, you know.
Yeah.
Just one more thing that he says here. He says, "You do not intimidate someone who is voted Man of the Year by the Texas Undertaker Society."
Some good writing on this show.
Yeah. I also liked the whole thing where he like essentially talks the bounty hunter that was going to kill him out of killing him to become a novelist like him for his publisher. And at the end of the show, he like threatens the publicist. He's like, if anybody touches my writing, I'll kill you. And he's like, okay, we won't change it then. And it's like, essentially this guy's become like a good guy, or like not a good guy, but he stopped killing because he's like, I sadly didn't put away any like money for my later years and stuff.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite scene in the whole show.
Yeah. It's actually kind of, yeah, it's like, I like that because it's like, I don't know, I like that in shows where it's like, definitely like, I mean, even if he had just been like a badass, it still would have been like nice to see something like that where it's like the hero thinks about stuff instead of just like blowing people away.
Well, then we may have a problem with Fistful of Dollars.
Well, not really.
Yeah, not really.
At all. But we're in a deep and serious conversation regarding primates. Did you catch that when he said that? I was going to say, I bet you probably
It's good writing, man.
cracking up.
It's another great line.
Well, it just cuts in and he says that. And we were in a deep and serious conversation regarding primates. And I was like, I think Matt wrote that.
I wish I could write something that
That was hilarious. Cool. Well, speaking of which then.
Are you going to get the DVD complete series?
I don't know. I guess it would depend on how much it was and if there were any special features. I think the only special feature is that it'll run on a DVD player. It's kind of like the DVD set for what was the one the one with Bruce Campbell that we watched recently?
Oh, Jack of All Trades?
Yeah. It's literally like 4x3 and stereo sound that were the special features on the back. It was essentially just specifications. I was like,
these features, they're so special.
yeah, it's like, fuck off. Remember when like a special feature was like interactive menus?
Animated menus. Like, I thought the menu was great, but then you're telling me it's animated? Whoa!
Interactive menus as opposed to a menu that like you can't do shit with. You put the DVD in and you can't do anything. You're just like, it's like, okay.
I also love the cast and crew filmographies.
Dude, a bunch of movies too back in the day would like show clips from movies they didn't have the rights to. Like, you remember that on
Austin
certain
Powers had
DVDs?
one.
Yeah, but like I've seen other DVDs that had that where like they would just show a random clip from a movie for that actor or actress, and they didn't like own the rights. And I was like, how the fuck did they just use a clip? It's like, I don't know. I thought that was funny.
I think that reminded me of my favorite special feature ever is the one from Austin Powers where it's just like a 2-minute clip of like animation just for fun.
Is that the one
like,
where
yeah,
it's
baby.
like put this on in the background and
Yeah.
it's like a groovy background thing and it's like dun, 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 dun. Kind of reminds me of that Dance of the Dead thing they put on that horrible fucking...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now they're dead. Shoot them in the head.
It's like... Yes. So, I think that's all there is to say. I'll probably watch another episode at some point because I like Richard Dean Anderson. It was just like you were saying, like the biggest downfall of this, at least entry, is like what every other show we've ever criticized for is like. I think that was just a thing back in the day because I don't see it too often like these days. Because what they'll usually do is like the show will be an hour long normally, and the first episode will just be an hour. You know what I mean? Whereas this show, I'm sure, is either 30 or 40 minutes, but the first episode was like an hour and something. And it's like, back in the day, they would be like, especially on these like low budget, like UPN or like, you know, whatever shows, they'd be like, okay, well, people that are going to sit down, we don't give a shit if people stay or not. So we're just going to like take as much time as needed on this first episode. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move over to A Fistful of Dollars.
All right. Great pick by you.
A pinky full of pesos. It's like, wait, what? It wouldn't even hold like one. It's like,
A palmful.
Oh, yeah, there we go. That makes more sense.
My pinky is full of pesos.
I'm like, kill me. A Fistful of Dollars. Italian. Per un pugno di dollari lit. It's like, what?
There you go.
It's like, fuck off.
Why?
1964 spaghetti western film directed by Sergio Leone and starring Clint Eastwood in his first leading role.
Yeah.
I'd
don't
seen
know
him in
about
other
you.
stuff before. Like,
Yeah.
he was in a western TV show back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Before this, it was like black and white. I can't remember what it was called, though. But I think it was pretty
Gunsmoke,
popular.
I think?
Yeah.
One of those.
Gunsmoke!
Gunsmoke, wait.
Or yeah, I guess
he's a
it's
TV
not like
star.
fuck that. I think it was like fuck the pronunciation. I think I fucked that up hardcore for the Italian. I'm pretty sure anybody that's Italian that was like, okay, that doesn't sound like anything. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
I have lots to say about this movie. I think it was
I thought you said I have a loss to say.
I'm at a loss.
I've never seen such a piece of shit in my life. We're like a fistful of dog shit.
It was a great pick though, because this is like a classic. It's a must see for any movie fan for sure.
There's I'm sure I don't own it, but I'm sure there's like 50 Criterion versions of this film. But,
Yeah, it's been released a lot of times.
but it's one of those things too where it's like, we'll definitely have stuff to say about it, but it's also like we could say nothing at all because it's a really good film. It's,
Yeah, I was when you picked it. At first I was disappointed because
you're like, this film fucking sucks.
Well, I've seen the other two in the trilogy,
Yeah.
and I like them both better than this.
Yeah.
But watching it again, this movie's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. And like I said, it's a must see.
Must see TV.
Yeah, Thursday night, NBC.
Yeah.
So what did you think? Had you seen this before?
No.
It was first time watch?
I don't know why I answered it like that. No, fuck that. I've always wanted to watch like this and the other two that they made, which is essentially about a dude that has like never says who he is, and he just
man
comes
with no
in
name.
and saves like whoever's there and shit. But this first one, they play it off like he's like doesn't give a shit, but you find out later.
Yeah. But just to get you
it.
pumped to watch the other two, like
he dies.
he dies at the end of the first one.
He's like, what?
For a few dollars more, the next one has Klaus Kinski as a hunchback.
Oh, Jesus.
And Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is like one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's so good.
Well, it's so obvious when you first from the first time he's on screen in this film that it's like obvious after this film, every single Western that's come out after this, that's at least movie-wise or even TV, has like, I mean, it's kind of like even though Western was a thing, like he kind of, this movie with him and Sergio Leone, like they essentially made a new genre, or at least made it iconic enough. It's kind of like once Escape from New York came out and Snake Plissken became like a character, you know, it's one of those things where like anytime someone's wearing an eye patch, you essentially are like, okay, that's, you know, it's no longer a pirate thing. It's like that's Snake Plissken territory. And it's like the poncho is definitely like a...
It's funny you mentioned that because Snake Plissken is basically ripping off Clint Eastwood. He's doing a Clint Eastwood impression. It all stems from like this movie.
Right.
So influential. But also, this kind of reminded me of when you picked The Killer. Because like that's a good movie, but like I like every other Sergio Leone movie I've seen even better than this one, you know. So
yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, The Killer was kind of like a fuck up on my part. Sorry.
No, I don't think so at all. I think it's a great movie, just like this. But there's even better ones out there. I think is the point.
I'm like, I fucked up. I'm like, I just met you, but we're now best friends forever. Mickey Mouse.
Sure.
Like, fuck off. A wandering gunfighter plays two rival families against each other in a town torn apart by greed, pride, and revenge, but not sloth. It's not the 7 deadly sins. So I forgot to come back to this note. I just have iconic music by, which I know.
Ennio Morricone.
Thank you.
Also highly influential.
Oh, yes, for sure.
And also did the score for The Thing.
Ah, nice music.
Nice music.
Yeah.
Finally worked, for sure. But another thing that like was unique about this movie was the amount of violence. Like this movie is almost nonstop killing. I kept a tally. Like Clint Eastwood kills 15 dudes in this movie. Yeah. But like there's multiple massacres that happen in this movie. It's like the level of violence and bloodshed is like much higher than the norm at the time.
Unlike Adam Egan, who does certain things to men under a bridge, he kills 15 dudes for $100 a man.
I like it.
Actually, I don't know how much it was a man, but he ended up getting a lot of money, which, he killed those men.
So you're a big opening credits aficionado. What did you think of the credits here?
If it wasn't for, like, the music, like... It was very stylized. It was weird. It was kind of reminding me of like that AVGN game that he reviewed that I'm sure was it was obviously like a ripoff of this in certain parts, but like the gunfighter with no name that was on that CDI or whatever. But it had that whole like weird rotoscoping or something where like they essentially I think they would like film somebody doing something, or like probably it's clips from the movie, and then they like rotoscope or animated like a white person onto a red background, I think it was. Yeah. And like, so it would just be their outline essentially. It was very interesting.
I thought it looked awesome.
I had to kind of like look away every once in a while because it was kind of like
strobing effect,
burning my fucking eyes a little bit. But I agree, it was one of those things where it's like unique. Yeah. And the music like definitely like helps it and is iconic. I mean, it's not like you're watching it and you're like, holy fuck, this is like the most action-packed thing I've ever seen. It's like you watch it and you're like, it gets you ready, I guess, for like it being a Western and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's my favorite opening credits that we've seen since Ernest Scared Stupid.
For like a movie.
Yeah.
Ernest Scared Stupid
has the greatest opening credits of all time.
I think, yeah.
Like, no argument.
Yeah. And not even if there was one. Yeah. No argument.
I will accept no
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's been a better, for at least the movies we watched. I think Batman had a pretty iconic opening, but it was literally just music played over, like, stuff. Yeah. It wasn't like, you know.
Nothing can touch the GOAT.
Yeah.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
As far as TV shows, though, I think Peacemaker is probably the best.
Yeah. That was great.
Show us up. Prove us wrong, Hollywood. We're waiting.
I'm not waiting. It's definitive.
I'm not waiting. I'm always looking for the next great thing, just like Brock Lesnar. I guess that's the next big thing. So I guess we should get into just the movie. I guess we already have.
Yeah, so what'd you think overall?
I'm like, fuck this! I'm like, bullshit week.
Did it meet your expectations, or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was more than what I thought, because it wasn't just some dude going around killing people. It was like a character that was smart, which I was like not expecting. Mm-hmm. I was expecting, because nobody really ever talks about that, and it seems to be like a huge defining aspect of the character. Like, yeah, he's like probably like the best like gunfighter you've seen, but to me, like, that's not his biggest like thing. I mean, yeah, it's big, but it's like he could probably just kill everybody if he wanted to, but like he is like probably one of the smartest characters also, which is weird that, you know, that's not talked about more, because he doesn't. He seems to have like a plan. It's not like he's like flying by the seat of his pants. It's
he outsmarts two gangs,
right,
for a fistful of dollars.
Right.
But that reminds me, I watched Raw Deal with Arnold, which is like one of his worst movies. But he like his mission is to infiltrate this gang. It's called Raw Deal.
The raw pink deal.
Which is like, Arnold's probably not the best guy to go undercover. It's really bad.
Because he's like a large dude that like speaks in a very specific way.
But by the end of the movie, he's killed every single person in the gang. So like, what was the point of infiltrating? Like, he literally killed everyone.
Yeah, it's like,
But yeah, that's a good point about, that's what makes this character really cool.
But like the character, I think you don't really hear. I mean, I'm sure there are people that have talked about it for sure, because this movie's been talked about it forever. But like, mainly people like in movies, if they, you know, they copy this, they just make the character like a badass gunfighter, and they don't even take the one thing that's like, because anybody can do that with their character, but they don't take the character in the direction of like being like smart, or like, you know, a hero that only shows that he's a hero in the last like 20 minutes of the movie. Like, it's like they can't write it subtly enough, or like well enough, I guess. I don't know. But I knew that what kind of movie this was going to be like when they start shooting at a kid in the beginning of this film. Also, I think
they don't spare the women and children in this movie.
Or the rod.
Nice.
They don't spoil the child or spare the rod. It's like, what the fuck, dude? What's the saying? It's like, don't spare a child, use the rod or something. It's like,
they had Russian hands and Roman fingers.
It's like, who the fuck has a fucking rod that they're hitting their kid with?
A rod.
Yeah. Okay, fucking
get the rod.
Fucking Moses over here with a fucking rod. He's got like a snake staff or some shit.
Ramrod.
Yeah. He's like, bleh. Fucking sick of locusts on his child. A plague. But like, yeah, so they're shooting at this kid. And they set it up really well though, because like Clint Eastwood doesn't get involved. He just watches, and it's like that already sets up his character for everyone to think that he is just this guy that doesn't want any trouble. He's just out for himself.
Yep.
He passes by a tree that has like a rope on it, and it's like a noose for a giant because it's like so high up in the air.
I didn't think about that, but you're right.
I was like
who were they hanging? Minute Bull?
Hanging one of the giants from like Game of Thrones. He's like, it's like, why? I'm like, how tall are you? 500 feet. Yeah. It's like, what? But anyway,
do you think it was the guy who made the salsa from New York City? New York City! Get a rope.
Maybe they put him up there and it like stretched his neck out so long that he could like touch the water eventually.
Or like Blair Witch, where it stretched his arms and legs out for some reason, but
hang me and my fucking legs and arms will stretch out. It's like
it made sense to me at the time, but then I thought about it and it was like,
did you think about it then, or when
no,
I brought
I
it up
said
that
it
one
like
time?
it made sense, and then you were like, wait, what? I was like, oh yeah.
It reminds me of like one of those Ghostbusters toys from like the cartoon back in the day. Yeah. Like, why? Oh my god. So Clint Eastwood like ends up hanging onto this like branch or whatever.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Or it wasn't a branch, it was like, I think like an
post.
overhang. Yeah, post. And he's like, and that's weird because that's like not something you associate with like,
it's not a cool action
grounded
hero
gunfighter kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, usually like these people are like, with gunfighters you see a lot of like, kind of like John Kreese, where they're never off their feet. They're like grounded, and the power comes from them being connected to the ground and kind of thing.
No, I didn't think about that.
It seems, at least that's kind of how it seems. It's very like, whereas like why when you watch like Shanghai Nights or Shanghai Noon, it's like Jackie Chan is like a total holy crap because he's like all over the place and he's doing martial arts and stuff in that Western. But I guess it's more of like a martial arts Western in that. But yeah, this was interesting because that's something you don't see like at all. Like the only time someone is not attached to the ground is when they're like shot down
or
it
hanging.
like, right, yeah. Blair Witch style. So there are no women, only widows. And I was like, by definition, that's a woman, you fucking idiot.
You call them out.
I was like, I'm like, they're not women, they're widows.
Way to tick.
Yeah, it's like, oh. This is another trope that I'm sure, it's been going on for a long time, but it was like definitely something in this film. The very well informed and helpful like bar guy or whatever. Barman.
Who is that barman?
Yeah. That ends up needing saving later because of his generosity.
He paid the price.
Yeah. And the price was so heavy. Bandits and smugglers from Texas. This takes place, I'm assuming, in Mexico somewhere because they talk about up in Texas.
Yeah.
Unless, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about these movies is they were all shot in like Spain,
right?
With like mainly Spanish and Italian casts.
Yeah, because I think I could be wrong about this,
but
there's some dubbing here.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's lots of dubbing.
Which I have a note about that later on. It's not bad dubbing. There's no for my money. There was nothing bad about the dubbing in this. This wasn't like.
If you didn't notice it, then it must have been amazing.
Well, it wasn't like a lot of movies we've seen that were like, horror movies or something that were dubbed in Spanish or Italian back in the day when they didn't give a flying fuck about if it sounded good or if it, the people matched who the person was. Yeah. It was like modern day, like, dubbing where it's like, if you get this shit wrong, you're fucking fired shit. It's big money to be made. So, get 3 coffins ready.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, it serves like multiple purposes. It's like, what's planning to happen, and like, that this character has like some sort of like humor to him and stuff. And he essentially
awesome.
like locks onto these dudes and kills like 4 of them, fucking Red Dead style.
Just like using auto aim.
Yeah.
Yeah, he never misses.
Yeah.
It's like it's like Snake Plissken when he killed those 4 dudes like
With 1 bullet.
Yeah.
He holds a fork up and shoots the fork, and it splits in like 4 directions. And then he comes back after like reaming these dudes, and he says, "My mistake, 4 coffins." He doesn't say it like that, obviously. He's like, "My mistake, 4 coffins."
And we talked about it before, but like his mean face in this when he gets, he's like, there's an extreme close up of like his angry eyes, and it's like, dude,
he's like,
that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Angry eyes. He's like,
he's got Clint Eastwood eyes.
He's like, but so
that's definitely like the Sergio Leone. His style is like these extreme close-ups. Because you hadn't like that wasn't a huge thing back in the day.
Yeah, it's extreme close-up, and then it's also zoom in close-up.
And it gets taken to its extreme in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's like, dude, the end sequence is
like out of control.
Yeah.
So, speaking about dubbing from earlier, I'm pretty sure that either one or both the brothers were dubbed by someone that did Speed Racer, which was done around the exact same time. Specifically, I don't remember the character's name, but I think he was in the Great Race or whatever episode. But it's like the line where like they say like Speed Racer will get you. Well, they say it like every episode, but like if you've heard of this show and seen this movie and watched the English dub, you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But
that's cool.
It was interesting because I was like, this sounds exactly like that guy. But they do a great job in this. Speaking of like the dubbing of.
Did anyone do the voice of Chim Chim?
One dude's like, he goes to speak and he's like, "Rah, rah, rah." I'm like, speaking of which though, there is like a fucking laughing hyena in this film, like later in the film. I'm like, okay, dude, chill the fuck out.
And speaking of monkeys, Clint Eastwood turns into Donkey Kong in this movie and kills people with barrels.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, Street Fighter bonus stage here.
Yeah.
And those guys like have no chance.
Yeah.
Like,
they got munched.
Would that have killed somebody that easily?
If it was,
I guess
heavy,
it didn't matter, but it was just like it.
They get like blown up.
Well, it didn't just roll down the thing and hit the wall. It like exploded. It splintered, and then like there were just 2 like mulch bodies.
Yeah, they turned into slunk meat. That was awesome.
Slunk meat.
So I thought you get a kick out of the barrel kills.
It was great. What'd you think about Clint laying in his bed like a pig in a blanket? He had his fucking only his head was peeking out. He's like, time for a smoke and a pancake.
A bong and a blitz.
Yeah.
Nice.
But he was just like, and then like he's laying in bed and he puts a cigar in his mouth, and I'm like, this is not smart, dude.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was gonna go to bed, and I was like, don't. You'll fall asleep. I was like, don't go to bed, you'll fall asleep.
That's the most dangerous thing that could have happened to him in
he
this
could have
movie.
burned himself down. Or burned himself down.
Burn him down.
I'm like, stop. We need his ass. So we've got a lot of like trickery in this movie. Some guy's like pulls out like flowers. He's like,
trick my trick.
Yeah.
It's a remake of Yojimbo, basically the Kurosawa movie.
That makes a lot of sense because a lot of like the best like westerns, especially coming out around this time, were like essentially just complete rip-offs of like really old Akira Kurosawa or like Japanese films, or at least the idea that they kind of like did, which I think some of those films also came from books, maybe. So, but yeah, like you were saying, like
I just wanted to mention that because there's been another remake of this
called Yojimbo.
It's called I forgot what it's called, but it's starring Bruno and Christopher Walken,
like Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
He's like, I gotta shoot now. Okay. He's like, fuck everybody up.
I'll look it up. Sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. There's there's a lot of different stuff. Like,
Last Man Standing.
Oh, okay. Huh.
It's a pretty good movie. But
is that a Western?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's kind of like a.
He was like, I looked and it looked like he was dressed like a dude from like the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, I think it's like a urban Western kind of.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good movie.
Bullshit. Who's that guy? Bruce Dern.
Bruce Dern.
Watch him.
William Sanderson.
William Shatner.
Christopher Walken.
William Shatner, not Shatler. But he like backstabs the hell out of the other army, or not? He does, but like. So like these.
He plays them off each other.
Yeah. So essentially, these dudes like show up, like the army, and they're trying to like it's like the North and South or something, or like they're two different like opposing. It's like a Mexican or American army or something like that, and like they're trading gold for weapons, and like unbeknownst to them, like the one gang has already like killed the other army, and they use a Gatling gun to kill the rest of the dudes, and just takes the guns and the gold for themselves.
That's massacre number one.
Yeah. That's one massacre. How many more will there be? I think that's probably the worst massacre, though, in this film for the most part.
I think the one where they massacre women and children is worse.
Well, number of bodies is this one for sure.
It's just
this is an actual...
dude after dude getting mowed down,
this is like,
shot in the back.
Yeah, this is like Rambo style, where like the dudes are just getting killed by a fucking Gatling gun.
Yeah. It goes on for way too long. Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
There's lots of killing.
There was a lot of guys. Coffins look of very great design and quality.
Yeah.
They looked really good, so. I don't know, that was just a note I had. I thought they were pretty
You're
good.
like, nice craftsmanship.
Yeah, they were good for, like, especially a movie. Like, I don't know, a lot of times they look, like, cheap and stuff, so it's like, I don't know. So, like, there's just, like, a lot of, you know, he'll work for one side and do something, and then he'll work for the other side and get paid for something. It's, like, essentially, like, I don't know, just knocking out a woman and then taking her to the other side, and then, like, they use that to exchange people, and you know, he gets paid for information, and then he goes to the other side and tells them what they're gonna do, and he gets paid as well. It's like, it's essentially like the arms dealer that's selling weapons to both sides of a conflict,
right? So
and they're none the wiser, at least for a while. Let's see, yeah, so there's a part where he like knocks the dude out with a door just by like shooting the things. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I've never seen a door though that like it swung down.
Yeah. He's like the greatest marksman possible in this movie. Mm-hmm. Like he can shoot anything, anywhere, anytime. He'll shoot anyone like, with his golden gun.
I was about to like talk about that.
Better not to.
I'm sure we'll talk about it when we eventually talk about that movie. So we've got a long ass shoot, we've got a long shootout at night between the two factions that think that like the other one fucked the other one over, or something happened, and essentially Clint Eastwood is just like watching from the shadows like a child.
I like how you propped up those corpses to like
to make
him think that there's dudes looking out.
Yeah.
Always good to have some corpse play.
One of the lines that made me kind of be like, what? Is like, the guy that's helping him, the bar friend or whatever, is like, I don't want to be here. It's not nice, or like, to do this when people have died in this cemetery of like the flu or something. And I was like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? I just thought it was like a weird line. I was like, it's like, people have died of influenza in this very spot. Like, people were buried here. I'm like, yeah, no shit, it's a cemetery, dude. You find out kind of like why, for the most part, you're wondering like, why is this like woman and child, and dude, like, why are they, what's going on with this? Because, like, she's with this family, and you think that maybe she's just there, you know, because she's with this Ramon guy, but you find out that, like, essentially they strong-armed the family and threatened to kill the kid, and, like, essentially stole, like, the wife, and says they'll, like, you know, if the dad ever tries to, like, come for his wife to save her, then, like, they'll fucking just find the kid and, like, blow its head off or whatever. And I'm like, pretty fucked up stuff, and I'm sure it happened all the time back in the day, and, you know, I'm sure, yeah. It's fucked up, and, yeah. So, there's a part here where they're all celebrating, and they're ripping the white cooked meat.
Yep.
Did you notice that, like, once he rips that off, he literally just throws it?
I know, he
5
wasted a
seconds
good,
later.
like, delicious pig leg.
I was like, what is this?
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah. Eastwood is drunk as hell. Or is he? So this is another thing where he essentially is playing... He's pretty much playing everything, and, like, nobody fucking knows. It's like...
Yep. They figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
And they're pissed.
They kind of take it out on the wrong people. But we'll get to that in a second. He shoots 5 dudes, and a cat screeches, and, like, runs out of the room. It's like... I wonder if somebody was, like, holding that cat and then fucking, like, slapped its ass or something.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Knowing where it was filmed.
Yep.
Kind of surprised that cat didn't get fucking cut in half.
I know.
So then he pulls, like, a fucking Jack Burton here, and she's like, watch out! And he, like, throws the fucking knife at some dude that's behind him, and he's like, ugh.
That was pretty great.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I was not expecting him to use a knife and throw it instead of just using a gun the whole time. Yeah. I was like, holy shit. This is legit.
Yeah, I've only seen Arnold do that. He's like, stick around. You gotta be pretty powerful to, like, impale a dude by throwing a machete.
To throw a knife so fast and, like, powerfully that, like, it'll go into a dude all the way.
Yeah.
Like, so, this is when you kind of find out that he's actually, like, a hero and what he's really been up to this whole time. He gets, like, all this money from both sides and, like, essentially, like, frees the lady and go and, like, tells them, like, the husband, the wife, and the child to, like, get the fuck out of here, and he gives all the money to them. So they essentially can, like, they're, like, rich now. And like, it
was more than a fistful of dollars. It was a whole bag.
It was a palm full of pesos. A pinky full of pesos. It's like, what? So, like, when asked, you know, wondering why, because there's not, like, a lot of information you get about, like, his backstory in this movie, or, like, what his name is. Like, you never learn any of that. But, like, one of the things that's asked of him is, like, that he actually answers is, like, she asks, like, why you do this, or why do you do this, or why did you do this to help them? And he says, I knew someone like you once, and no one was there to help. So it's, like, essentially, he goes around and is kind of like...
Good Samaritan.
Right. He's like helping, like, people cross the road. And he's like, he's getting his kill fucking gang badge. But yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, so I guess,
but that one line is all you need. Like, you don't. That's why, like, there's so much over explaining going on these days. It's
why
like
not?
in one line.
Why don't you just tell them all right now? Your backstory. The man, the myth. I'm like, it's one of those things where it's, like, shocking to learn that at all, because it's one of those information things that you didn't think you would get from a character like this, because at this point you find out that this character is not just, like, a stone cold bastard.
Yeah, he's not just out for his own, for his selfish needs.
You find out that, okay, so now we know what kind of character this is, when before you thought you knew, which is interesting. and it was done with that one line without being like
a tearful monologue explaining about his childhood trauma because his mom abused him Picard style,
or he got like blown up or some shit in the first episode, but he was fine because he's 1,000 years old and his fucking regular body is stronger than his android body.
Let's not go down that dark path.
Too late.
I know.
You're like, my prison, my prison.
I need to give a 5-hour-long monologue about my childhood trauma. It's the only way the writers know how to do anything.
When I was young, my father was an asshole to me, but he loved me, and I'm like, do we need to know?
Why?
Do we need to fucking know about
it's the laziest
what
possible
happened
writing.
to Picard when he was little, when he's fucking almost dead?
I know.
Like, now
in the
he's
grave.
just now finding out shit.
I know.
When he's fucking this old. It's like the time for that is past, motherfucker.
Yeah. You got one foot in the grave.
Yeah, he's
Get
like,
the other one in
now
there
I
and
can
finish
fucking
it.
finally have a girlfriend and get married. I'm like,
you realize this character is like 1,000 years old.
he's as
barely
old
alive.
as you. Like, you're fucked, dude. Like, I mean, he's not fucked, but it's like,
He's already dead. He died already.
he's not going to college. He's not creating a fucking litter of offspring any day soon, okay? Like, those days have long gone, you know. As Austin Powers said, for me, that ship has sailed. So, once again, we've done it. We've talked about Star Trek for no fucking reason. So this movie's good, unlike Picard. But he keeps playing them off each other, but then he gets like, eventually he's like trying to get back and sneak into his room, and he gets caught, and there are people there like, you know.
The jig is up.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing in these movies is like, I think in all three of them, at least two, like he suffers severe beatings. Like,
yeah, he gets beat so bad that
like
they
almost,
put like prosthetic eye over his.
Yeah, it's like they beat him almost to death in every movie.
Yeah, his one eye gets like closed shut by like putty, and they just like beat the hell out of him, and he has to like crawl away, like after he kind of escapes and stuff. But like you said, he like Donkey Kong's a barrel onto two dudes.
That was awesome.
And when it happens, the guy like Austin Powers, like about to be crushed style, he's like, no, and it's like, boom. It's like, really, dude? But it's like him and some random dude. I don't even know if the other dude had anything to do with the
He was
scenario.
in the wrong place at the
wrong time. It was like their banker or something. He's like, hello. Boom. But it was like a barrel full of gunpowder because like they all run in and they're like, where the fuck is this idiot? And like, well, they don't say that, but like, they're like, you can't hide forever. And
they're like, that's my favorite line in the movie. If someone's hiding him, kill them like dogs.
I thought about that and I was like, what the fuck? It's cracking up. But he like flicks a match in there and essentially like makes it so the front door, like they can't go out that way. I guess there was another way out, which I don't know why Clint Eastwood didn't go out that way. But like they're like, let's get out of here. Run off screen to hopefully a spot to get out. Mm-hmm. And then he literally like fucking like Solid Snakes it. He like
slinks it away.
Yeah, he like is under the boards.
Under the board.
Yeah, he's like, I got my girl down here, man. Let's just hang out.
The worst song on that album, maybe?
Yeah, by far. It's like, well, time to go to sleep. I do. I was just thinking about the beginning of Secret Agent Man, where they play like the railroad harmonica, and it's like, or whatever. It's like that should have been the theme for this one.
And they play the James Bond theme, except they change one random note so they don't get sued.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so they play like multiple themes in this. Bruce Willis also was like, so he's sneaking around, and it's like he he eventually gets to the Undertaker guy, which is like he's like a bystander, but he's totally on his side because he's like, this guy's killing a shit ton of people and like helping me out, and also like you get the feeling that this guy doesn't like the horrible shit that's happening in this town. It's like an older guy. I think he's like the oldest guy on screen. Well, when he's in the scene, obviously, but he like he gets in one of these coffins. And he's like, get me the fuck out of here. And he like wheels him away, and like nobody like is the wiser. But then they like stop, and they think that the other family, I think it's I forget what the two it's like one of them's like the Rohans, I think
yeah.
But like this is the massacre you were talking about that's like less people, but it's more horrific because it's not just random dudes. It's like it's weird to see like
they're begging for their lives and as women and children, and they're like, nope.
Everybody's like, well, it's weird because you don't see that in a lot of films, which is another thing that I'm kind of surprised that other people never do when they make their movies. Is like this other faction that essentially was like the lesser of two evils, but they were also kind of like screwing the people over.
Oh, they're both bad gangs.
They just get fucked. Like there's no. It's not like there's a shootout at the end of the movie. It's like literally...
Yeah, shot like fish in a barrel.
They're just like unarmed people, and it's weird because I've never seen that in a film where like one side just wipes out the other. Like
and
there's always like this head-to-head, you know, like battle, and it's like literally like, like you said, like essentially the two, like the dad finally comes out, and he's just like, you know, you don't have to do this, I'll leave, and, you know, you can have the area. Essentially, it's just, like, conceding the gang place or whatever. And he's like, oh, you want to try anything? He's like, yeah. And then he's just, like, just kills him anyway. And then he kills his son. And then the mom comes out, and she goes, like, ape shit. And she's like, you're a bunch of pieces of shit. Fuck you. You're going to burn in hell. And they shoot her, and that's when it's like, holy shit. I mean, it was, like, holy shit before, but it's like... She dies, but I don't know if you noticed it, but like when the son dies, he like falls over a barrel, and for the rest of the scene when he's shown, he's like Joker style. He's like,
no, I didn't notice.
Like he dies with his mouth open, and when he dies that,
oh, I didn't know. Yeah, that's disturbing.
It's fucking like, okay, this is like he's dead, and that's essentially
the violence is getting too real.
Right. Well, it's just one of those things where like normally when people die, they're just like. But it's like, that's how he died, and that's, you know, it's not like he would be like, you know, close his
like
fucking
movie
mouth.
style.
Open movie style. But it was fucking out of control.
Yeah.
What sets this off is they dynamite this wall, which really doesn't do anything, and then they fucking throw...
Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, they throw Molotov cocktails in, and then it sets the place on fire. And they run out. And as people are running out, it's like, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead.
Human shooting gallery.
Also, kind of like Arnold, it makes no sense because if they're looking for the fucking Clint Eastwood dude, like, they don't ever ask any questions about him. Because after they kill everybody, they're like, look for him, he's got to be there. And it's like, why didn't you fucking ask? Like,
you just murdered everyone else in the town.
Right. It was like fucking Arnold style. Like, I've infiltrated the gang and then killed them all.
He got a raw deal.
So then I'm assuming like a bit passes because he like heals up and stuff, but his eye was like fucked up before, and
the healing up training montage.
Yeah.
Leading up to the final showdown.
Right. He makes a what's it called? Like a vest out of so they goes into this cave, and like the Undertaker knows he's there, and he's like, you know, talking to him daily, I guess, and telling him news of what's going on. And then he makes a vest, Mr. Bond, out of stainless steel. Even though I think it's just not stainless.
I don't think it was stainless. It was stained.
That's true. Out of stained steel. Essentially, this is what prompts in Back to the Future 3 Marty McFly to use the like iron, like cast iron door or whatever, because he even has a poncho in that.
Yep.
to like when he gets shot to be like fine and stuff. Which I'd never seen this, so when that happened, I was blown the fuck away.
You're like, they ripped off Marty McFly.
Well, I was blown away because like I didn't know it was gonna like how things were gonna go down in Back to the Future. So I was like, holy shit! But if I had seen this, maybe I would have known. You know what I mean? Because they nod to it because of the way he's dressed and stuff.
Yep, totally.
So he goes into town wearing this shit, and Ramon is like the dude. Earlier in the movie, he says, if a man with like a pistol meets a man with a rifle, he loses every time. It's an old proverb, and I'm like, dude, no one's ever said that except for you just now.
And you just set yourself up for
for getting fucking reamed.
Like you jinxed yourself, dude.
Yeah. Fucking. He's like, buy me a Coke, mini-me, jinx. Has anybody ever gotten a Coke, I wonder, bought for him for saying that? Probably not.
I'm sure someone has in the history of mankind.
Damn. Maybe I'll buy you
The wrestler.
I'm like, you wanna fuck with me, Rock? It's like,
take it easy on me, Rock.
My family's here. Don't hit me in the head 100 times. Shit.
Don't take 10 years off my life in one match.
Whatever you say, Mick. Beats his ass. Scars him for life.
My wife and kids are crying, Rock.
Fuck you and your humble family, Mick. Gonna be Black Adam soon. Suck it. It's like, what? Anyway.
But this ending is awesome.
Yes.
But it reminded me of the ending of Dumb and Dumber when he's like, it's okay, I had a bulletproof vest the whole time. And they're like, wait, what if he shot you in the face?
Yeah. He's like, it's okay, it's alright.
Jesus told me so.
Actually, the way that it kind of works in this is because he goads him into shooting. He's like, I don't know if he maybe was trying to make him think he was a vampire. He's like,
just psyched him out, dude.
Yeah. He's like, Edge. He's like, but he was like, shoot me in the fucking heart. Okay, he doesn't say that at all. He's like, show me the phone door. Do it. Turns into Tim. You fuck with me. It's like, huh? But he's like,
if he can't see where he is, he can't talk about where he is.
This minion, this pissing me off. What's just going in here? Fuck you. It's like, Jesus. So anyway, so he shows up with this vest on, and he like essentially is like, I mean, it works because he's been wearing the poncho the whole time because they can't, you know, they don't know what's under his stuff. And he's like, come on, or whatever, or shoot me, or I forget what he says at the very beginning, but he gets like,
aim for the heart.
He gets shot instantly, and everybody starts laughing. Or he's like, we need to talk about this, or he says something, and then like he shoots him, and then he gets up, and he's just like, that's when he starts being like, keeps saying shoot for the heart to essentially be like, dude, you gotta fucking, you know, come on, shoot, you know, to keep him shooting his chest. And yeah, he essentially does that, and then like eventually he's out of bullets, and that's when he like drops the thing, and they're all like, and that's when he like pulls out his gun and kills everybody but like Ramon. My thing is though, like,
awesome.
Why didn't he keep it on and act like he was like essentially they were like Batman? Yeah. They were like horrified. They thought he was like a vampire ghost or something. Yeah, it's like, not that I'm like fucking 0 out of 9. Fuck it now. I'm like,
a magician should never reveal his tricks.
That's true. He's like, you'll never know how they did the secrets because that's fucking behind the scenes. It's like exposed fucking magician secrets, like in 2000s or whatever. It's like
Clint Eastwood, you've been exposed.
That thing where he was just like, Greg, you've just been exposed for working for AMC. It's like, what? So yeah, like, so he drops the facade, and just like they did in Back to the Future 3, where he kind of like drops it and he's like, check this shit out. But it's mainly to show, I guess it's to show the audience, but it's like in Back to the Future 3, I don't think anybody knew in the audience that he had that on. You were like, holy shit, he's dead. In this, it's to kind of be like, he's showing off at this point. He's like, dude, fuck off. And then he fucking blows all the dudes away, except for like, the last guy, Ramon. And this last thing is like, it's just like something you do when you're fucking toying with somebody. Like, he's like, the guy drops his gun. Clint Eastwood puts his gun down. He's just like, okay, dude, like,
go for it.
Yeah, you reload your gun and I'll let you do it and we'll go for it. And they do, and like he pulls his gun up before the other guy had his gun up, and they both go to shoot, and he just fucking like
cleans him up.
Yeah, he gets him like what's it called? The dude at the end of the one movie with Isaac Hayes.
Truck Turner.
Yeah. It's not that out of control, but it's got like that from his perspective kind of, where he's like, but he like spins and you're like, what's going to happen? And then he literally just falls over dead into the But before that, he was cowering like a dog.
Yeah.
Which was awesome because it's like, you don't see that a lot with like bad guys. They always make them like super strong, but it's like
he gets his just desserts.
Yeah,
and he turns into a weakling.
He ends up being like shown like anybody in that situation. Like
he died badly. He died like a dog.
Turn the lights off. So yeah, it was just like I said, it was awesome, and it started a genre.
Yeah, man, it was a great pick.
Yes.
Hats off to you.
I'm like,
so what's your score?
Well, I think for this film we have to give it, or I have to at least, a perfect 9.95.
I'm gonna go 8.95.
Oh.
Just because like the other movies are even better than this. My only complaint is
you're
like,
gonna give 8.95 as well. You like 7.95.
I don't think the Yojimbo story is like the most compelling
Yeah.
thing ever. It's just like, yeah, he plays the two gangs off against each other.
Yeah.
And it's cool, but I'll just go 8.95.
I mean, I think the reason why I gave it a 9.95 is because
It's a classic. I mean, that's a
better
justifiable
than
score.
like almost every other film we've seen.
Yep.
So I can't give it less than like a perfect score.
Yep.
And I think like maybe if I'd seen the other films, but I guess maybe if I had seen the other films, I probably would still give it a perfect, depending on I don't know.
The villain in the next two is played by Lee Van Cleef in both movies, and he's a better villain than the villains in this movie, so makes it even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like having like a very specific villain sometimes doesn't matter if you have like a super strong character, but it never really hurts. Like, I mean, you look at like the Marvel films, and like they've had an issue with like having villains in their films since like pretty much the beginning, or at least keeping them around and stuff. So that definitely can add up, and it spells disaster for you, Samoa Joe. So
yeah, great pick. It was fun to watch,
week?
fun to talk about. So next week, it's finally time.
A double cough.
It's been a long time coming. We're going to do King Kong Lives.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And there's a theme. So for Weird Watches, we'll do the Godzilla animated series.
Which one?
The one from the 90s that was based off of the 90s movie. They actually made a cartoon.
I actually have that on DVD.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dude. How?
Because it ran on like WB or whatever, and I think I found it at like...
That's amazing.
When I worked at Half Price Books for like $2.
Cool, man.
Let me write this down. So, yeah, it is like the one from like WB, right? Like the 90s one you said,
it was
I think? Or 2000s
based on
or something?
Yeah, like 98 or whenever.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well.
Should be fun.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
I think we said it. Said it all.
We've said it. I guess until we see you down the trail. Keep on. I don't know what do you say except for keep on trucking for like cowboy. Keep on
riding that velocipede.
keep on. Yeah.
I guess I'll say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bye.